Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. I get so mad sometimes whenever we start this because usually we have the speakers playing in the background, and I'm telling you, that song puts me in a fantastic mood. Yep. Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's very twangy. It's very and it just and today it wasn't on. So I'm sure I'll have a
version.
Yeah, but it's all good. I'm gonna channel my inner Nate Bargatze and just start off by saying I am oh so tired. I am exhausted. I mean, I am. I'm
tired too.
I'm tanked.
I told you I overslept. I turned off my alarm, and my kids, I guess, actually slept in today. And we slept in. I mean, like it was after 7, and they weren't awake yet. So
Yeah, that's a good sleep in. Wait till they get older.
Yeah, but my watch woke me up, thankfully. Because I have an alarm on there.
Yeah.
And I wore it to bed last night, but yeah. So I usually don't get to sleep late either, but
it's weird. Like, so this past Saturday was like the first day that we were just at the house in probably weeks, all of us. And with nothing going on except for just get caught up on laundry and make sure nobody dies. Like, you know, that type of day.
Yeah.
You're like, just don't die on me, please.
Right.
You know, just relax. But our oldest, Nolan, he didn't wake up till like 11. And it's
I don't know
like,
what that's like.
I know, it's weird because he's typically like.
But he was at camp, right?
He was at camp. Yeah. Luke was at like kids camp the week before, and then he went to youth camp because he's in that transition grade. And he did the same thing. And it got to the point to where I was genuinely worried, and I just like put my finger underneath their nose to see if they're still breathing. You know, you're like, okay, I haven't, like, usually somebody comes down, like you could start to hear the rustling or whatever. And that was not the case. They were just both still asleep, and they were in bed, like they were out by like 9 o'clock the previous night. So they slept for 14 hours. And you're just, you know, you go in there, you kind of rub their back. You're like, hey, buddy, are you alive?
Yeah.
You know, it's just that type of exhaustion. And no, but it was great. It's been a fantastic summer. I know that for you, it's been kind of hectic and chaotic because not in the sense of like y'all are going and doing things, but just your typical routine because we're such like high producers, right?
Yeah.
Like in terms of like what our staff is able to do or what we're able to do as a church whenever you look at just like the pastoral staff. There's 5 pastors on staff. We have Megan and PD and Belinda, right? And that's it.
Yeah.
And we get a lot done.
Yeah.
And so whenever your kids are not in school, your husband works from home. He's in a very demanding job, I should say. He's like on call 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so it just to kind of give him relief to where he can focus on his job in case something pops up. You've got your kiddos here with us.
Yeah.
And so summer has been interesting.
Yes, that's a word for it.
So
Yeah.
like talk a little bit about like how this kind of dynamic shift for you has been. How do we continue to maintain this? Because I think I think we're really leaning on it takes a village.
Yeah.
Like to help raise kids because there's been times where you're like, hey, I've got to go do something.
Yeah.
You saw it yesterday whenever we were recording the extra point.
Yep. Yeah, we were recording yesterday, and I don't have my youngest, Anakin, he's 3. I don't normally have him here, and the older ones, like, they can entertain themselves somewhat, although they still have done things where they've come in
Yeah.
before. But yeah, I'm up here and I see Anakin come in and he's just walking on up like
I want to be a part of that.
I'm about to ask a question. I mean, none of my kids are shy, really. I mean, as they have their moments where they just don't want to be bothered, but like they're social and they think it's cool. I think we have a potluck where like my
Yeah.
kids came in and each said hello and we had to stop like 3 times that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the daycare had to shut down because of a water issue. There was no water and I had to go get him. And so I left the other 2 here and I just like asked 2 or 3 people that were here. I was like, hey, I'm leaving them here. I'll be back with Anakin. When I have to record, can y'all help try to watch him? And Anakin just snuck out. And so you had to go and grab him. And I was like, oh no, here it comes.
Because
Like,
you
he's
were
gonna
about
start
to
wailing, like screaming. But
you were about to get into like a heavy hitter question.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
were about to start talking about like sin and the separation
Yes.
from God from pastor's previous one
Yeah.
of his messages. And so it was just like, okay, here we go. Like this is real big. And so he's just walking in here just like I
"Hey."
run the place. He had
Yeah,
that
I
kind of
know.
like that billionaire's
Yes.
walk that whenever he came in here.
He does that.
And as soon as I picked him up, I was like, cookie, 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 cookie. You want a cookie? You want a cookie? Because he started to whimper a little bit. I was like, oh, we're about to go in like
Yeah.
full meltdown.
I mean, I thought it was about to happen, and Scott's like glancing over there, and I'm like, well, this is gonna be interesting. I'm like, it's a good thing it's not live right now. But yeah, so like every one of y'all have helped out multiple times with my kids this summer, but yeah, so it's just been interesting because trying to figure out how to allow them to have some fun this summer while also us both getting work done and trying not to make it to where you guys like have all the distraction of them here as well. I honestly like I can't say enough about how gracious everybody is. But I remember when I found out that our pool had Wi-Fi, and the first day that I took the kids to the pool, the big kids to the pool, and they like were just off doing their thing, and I didn't have to worry about them because they're swimming a bit better and like
Yeah.
all that stuff. And it was amazing. I was like, they only bothered me once, and it was for snacks, like
Yeah.
in a 4-hour time period. And I'm like, man, if I actually go work at the pool, I could get stuff done.
Yeah.
And so I remember telling Pastor Scott, like, hey, any chance I get, I'm probably, if I don't have to be in the building, I'm probably going to be at the pool
Yeah.
and work from the pool because here.
I feel like the first time you said that too is whenever the like all the construction that's been happening. It's like, hey, we need help moving all this stuff
know.
out of these rooms. Like you've only been able to go
I know.
once.
Well, I think whatever day it was last week, like I had my swimsuit on underneath my clothes. Like I'm wearing loose shorts and like sandals because I'm like, we got a little bit to do in the building and we're heading to the pool. Like that was my plan. Like they had their swim stuff on. We were going to head out and then it's like, hey, we got to move furniture. And I'm like, I did not dress for this.
No.
And so I'm over there, like my strap like had come off. I had to go back and have Pastor Jess fix it because I'm like, this is not like moving furniture attire. And I'm like,
Well, you started off the day in like a sweatshirt, right?
that was the second day I brought a sweatshirt in because
okay.
it's been cold here in the mornings with the air conditioner and stuff. But I knew that
Yeah.
I was going to be doing stuff like either moving furniture or I was going to try to help stain the playground some.
Oh yeah.
So I had on like a tank top and shorts so that way I wouldn't burn up outside. But I had a sweatshirt on because it's freezing in the building. And so anyway, like we were sweating trying to take those shelves
Dude.
out and taking them apart. But like you're doing all this while still like your kids are doing whatever. So like my kids, half the days, I mean, they're on tablets and TV a lot. I think yesterday, you guys said Carter probably ate like 10 bags of chips. Like,
Dude,
no
any chance he
joke.
could. I remember looking at him and I was like, Carter, bub, like that's like the 9th bag of chips. And he had one or two more after that or whatever. But I was like, hey, let's go ahead and put that back just for a little bit. So, just save some or whatever. Because, I mean, I think the box of chips is like an 18 pack.
And
But
my kids had ate most of them.
so
but
he went
yeah.
and put it back, walked like halfway out of the kitchen. We got back to our meeting. He snuck back in there. And then I hear him walking behind me with just like the little rustling of the chip bag. And I looked at him. I went, Carter. He looked back at me with this big smile and kind of shook the bag of chips over his head. And I was like, I can't be mad at that.
I know, like, they're so funny. And even Anakin yesterday, like, I don't remember what it was. Like, he said, can I have a bag of chips, Mom?
Yeah.
Like, so sweet and cute. And I'm like, yep, you sure can. 'Cause
Thank
I'm
you
a
for
sucker.
asking.
But
Like, you're
yeah,
like,
I
thank
mean,
you
he
for
did,
being
he did
so
ask.
polite and
So,
good. Like,
yeah.
he was really good yesterday, except
He
for that
was
one
really
moment where he's just like, I don't know where my mom's at, so he found you.
Yes.
Dude, I did you even see me? I locked the door. I
did
felt
not
so
see you lock
bad.
the door,
I did the deadbolt inside the worship center. So I was like, I looked over at Will. I went back to the back because Will was doing some of the production stuff, running the cameras and whatnot. I said, I think we're probably gonna have like a meltdown here. And he lost it because I was like, I deadbolted that. And then I saw Jess walk through. I was like, I gotta go unlock that for Jess because she don't have her keys.
Yeah. So it's been interesting, but for the most part, I mean, you got to do what you do to survive. Like, neither one of us have family close to
No.
here. I mean, yours are way farther away than mine, but still, like, an hour and a half is not
Yeah.
doable in the morning to go take your big kids there. And they like, couple of the grandparents still work, and so
Yeah.
there's that dynamic too. Like, even if we could take them for the week or something, it's not feasible for us to do that kind of thing. And so we're here, and there have been teens a couple times that have come up and watched them during the day, but then there's the dynamic of most of those teens that'll do it, like, they don't drive, so you have to go pick them up, and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it's just pretty much, I have tried to learn to get as much done as possible in a short amount of time, or to be really focused, or I just take stuff home and do it from home, because it's just what it is in this season.
I just show up early.
Yeah.
Because I know that.
Early with kids doesn't do
No.
anything better, but
Mine
yeah,
are still sleeping
like,
by the time I
because
get
that's
here.
what, during the school season, it was great, because they'd get on the bus at like 7, and I'd just be ready to go. So I'd drop Anakin off at daycare, and I'd come right in,
Yeah.
be here early, get stuff done. Like, because especially in our office space, our communal office space right now,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the less people that are here, the more you actually get done, because you're not talking and all those
Especially
things.
if you're doing like content creation, like myself or Megan,
Yeah.
because we're editing video or just looking
Right.
over footage and stuff like that. So a lot of it, you got to play the audio to make
Yeah.
sure it's all synced up and what sounds good and what looks good
Yeah.
and this and that. And so it's like constant. And even just like putting on headphones, like it just hurts your ears for most of the day. You just want to
Yes.
like.
Yeah.
And there's like this trend going around. I don't know if you've seen this. This is just like a rabbit trail,
Okay.
like of all
I
rabbit
like it.
trails. But so those people who stream like themselves playing video games and whatnot, they have like their headset on, and they wear it for most of the day. I mean, it's like they treat it
Yeah.
like a job. So that it's like 8, 9, 10 hours that
Yeah.
they do this, and they take a break for lunch or whatever. But what they're doing, there's like this trend where they're going around and they're shaving their heads, right? They're shaving their heads to where it's like almost down to the skin. And because they wear their headphones all day, they've got like this dent in the top of their
Yeah.
head. And so whenever I wear my headphones like that for more than 30 minutes, I start to freak out because I'm like, I don't need no stinking dent on the top of my head. I already look funny enough as it is. Like, I don't need another thing
goes
for people
away,
to go,
right?
man, I wish God would have spent a little bit more time on him.
Shaping that head. Like,
Just shaping that head. It's not like one of them quick turnarounds. But
that's funny.
but
Anthony
it-
wears
but they- but they-
headphones a lot for his work.
I'm
I'm interested. I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to look after he's worn them for a long time and see if he has a dent. I feel like he's I feel like he doesn't wear them that. Like I feel like you'd have to wear them super tight
Yeah, I
to
don't
do
know.
that.
I don't know. I think because like to gain more viewers or whatever,
Probably just
people like have to be like more lively and
yeah,
whatnot, more
yeah,
just body language
yeah.
like
I mean,
up to
Anthony watches some
100.
of those people,
And
but
so they probably wear it like a little bit tighter, but there's like, and I told Anthony about this too. I was
yeah,
like, there's this big old dent that's on
yeah.
top of people's
Well, it's
heads.
like if you're leaning against something for a while, you end up with the marks or the dents or like whatever. It's the same concept, but
Yeah.
man, yeah, I can't wear headphones for that long. Any headphones, like even like earbuds,
Earbuds.
I don't like most of them because I have little ears. So
Yeah.
like most of them bother my ears really bad, and so I'm really particular about what I use or get, and then most of the time I can't wear them for very long because they bother me. But yeah, so summer and ministry is what it is when you have young kids and
Construction.
yeah.
It's been an interesting summer
Yeah, like
because,
Thursday, Esme's running around here barefoot, like running through the lobby, and we'd moved all that furniture. The football players were here helping us, and I'm like, Esme, where are your shoes? Like, get your shoes on, because I had pulled something out of my shoe.
yeah.
Like one of the football players, they stepped on a nail. Thankfully, it didn't go in their foot, but it made a big hole in their shoe, and I was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But it's kind of that stuff where you're like, oh my goodness, because they're just used to like they take off their shoes, they run around, they do whatever, they
Yeah.
don't care. But like they've been really pretty good about not going down there. Like I'll take them down there occasionally to let them see because they're curious and they ask me a lot. Um, but like last Thursday, I was freaking out. I was like, please get your shoes on. Like I know that there are sharp stuff in this floor because I pulled something out of my shoe earlier, and one of the coaches, like he broke a mirror in your office. Like
Oh Lord.
there was a mirror from the bathroom in there, and they went to move like a chair or something, didn't realize it was leaning up against it, and it fell and broke everywhere. So I'm like, there might be glass tracked. I'm like, just please, like, put on your shoes.
I was
Goodness.
wondering why like the
Um,
floor in my office was wet. I guess they mopped it.
well,
I don't know.
are
Yesterday.
they had to fill in some places or do something, and I think they're getting
Like
ready to
concrete.
do the flooring in your office, like to put down
I'm telling you,
the
as soon as they
floor,
put
and
the
they have to put
plugs
the
in there.
glue and stuff down, which
Yeah. As soon as they get the
yeah,
plugs and everything,
I know.
I don't, if it takes just me and I'm myself and I do it all
I
day.
know. I'm like, because that's really once they get the flooring in, which I think they're doing that at your office today. All
Well,
you're waiting on is the plugs,
yeah.
and you could get your office set up.
I could still run extension cords.
It's gonna be from like in here,
Yeah.
'cause that's the closest
I mean,
one.
look, we know how churches run sometimes. It's just everything's on extension cords, but
Yeah. I mean, we have an extension cord with a lamp out in the
in the
hallway
hallway, yeah.
back there right now. Yeah.
But it's been interesting summer, but also just like on top of that, like everything else is like still happening
Yes.
with camps. We had kids camp and then youth camp followed the absolute next week. Right after that was youth camp. Then we have a week off, and then we are in summer celebration mode.
Yeah, which is our camp for
All the
everybody.
church, yeah,
all the
church,
churches, all the adults come,
yeah, from all over the state.
all that. And so, yeah, and then I had the New York trip in June, and we were saying early, like I think we were just saying yesterday, like it's been people think that ministry like summer is simple and slows down or easy or whatever.
Mm-mm.
And it's like it doesn't. Like you've got like Sunday still happens every week.
Yeah,
But then you've got the camps and you've got the other things, and you're trying to do extra fun things for kids because they're out of school, and you've got, whatever. And so it is, it's really, if you're blessed enough to be able to take a vacation during that time, that's great.
yeah,
Usually, like people are trying to fit it in between those camp weeks or like before. Like, I remember when I was running the kids camp, it was like, do I take vacation before camp, but then my mind's on camp the whole time, or do I figure out how to take it after camp? Like,
yeah,
it was like always trying to figure out the sweet spot of where to put it in. And then it got to where it's just like, you know what? We're just going to fit it in there where you got those pockets. And I think I was talking to you and I shared with Jess like last week about you got to find those little pockets of peace. Like you had Saturday where you could just be at home, catch up on some things, and chill. Like it was nice because it was I knew it was going to be raining all day Saturday.
Oh
So
yeah.
like my kids were like, "Are we going to go to the pool?" And I was like, "Nope, it's supposed to rain," because I knew like we needed to catch up on stuff at home. I needed a day, like because we've gone to the pool a lot this summer.
Yeah.
Partially just to get our money's worth from our membership, but like also just trying to allow them to have some fun during the summer because we're not taking like a family vacation really
Yeah.
because Anthony and I are both going to Ecuador in the fall, and it just didn't seem, and I did New York, so it just didn't seem smart financially. So like I'm going to stay with the kids at summer camp next week to kind of allow them to have a vacation, like to feel like it's more vacation because I'll be able to focus on them a little bit more and like they'll be able to play and not stress or whatever about other things going on. But and they'll have the services in the evening. So I was like, it just seems like that'll work for us. But so I've been just trying my best to like make it fun and do things. We got Esme a bigger bike. So she's had a blast with that. But so trying to find like those little pockets, those little moments where you as a family can rest, relax, recharge, do something fun together that's not full on ministry mode. It's so important to just find those and say, nope, this is the day where we don't have anything going on. We're going to choose to say no if anything comes up because we know we need to find those pockets of peace in the craziness of things.
Yeah, it's super important to be intentional in those moments. I had a really good conversation with Erica yesterday, and it was just like, look, I think that you've done a really good job this year of trying to be intentional, but I just need a little bit more. And just almost had to like bargain with her. I was like, look, like obviously the next 2 weeks for me are going to be super hectic because we're taking off to go to Texas to see my oldest niece get married. And if you ever want to feel old, wait until your first.
I was just thinking that. I was like, oh my gosh, which my oldest niece, I think she graduated, or she might be graduating. This might be her last year in high school. But yeah, when you said that, I was like, oh man.
It's it's like I'm excited, like super excited, but
it feels like it would feel like is this possible?
yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really weird, but just being intentional, like because I don't want my relationship with my wife or my kids just to take a hit because of like all this stuff. Like it's so easy to load your plate up. I was working during the day last week and then going to lead worship at youth camp, and then and like I need to do. I've always struggled with this, but also taking better care of myself.
Yeah.
Because I sang Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I practiced for the stuff on the next Sunday, like that Saturday. So I was singing. So I sang all day Sunday, and then we had rehearsal yesterday. And so I told Eric, I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna sing for the rest of the week. I was like, I just can't do it. Like I feel it.
Yeah.
Like it's really weird whenever you push yourself so much, and you're like, I feel it.
Yep.
And then because we're taking off for 12 days to go hang out with Erica's family and then my family. It's our family. I don't know why I say Erica's side of the family.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Grandmas.
Yeah, and so we're spending some time there, but so I'm like trying to get caught up with like making sure like everything's where it needs to be, and for those Sundays, but then also like because Scott's going to be out at excuse me, summer celebration. And so like during the day, like I'm gonna be up here dealing with like stuff, like regular work stuff, and then also all the construction stuff because I know that I'm gonna be moving stuff, and so I'm excited that I get to take some like a significant chunk of time off. But even in those moments to where you don't have like a niece or a nephew getting married or graduating or anything like that, Like you have to be, and we talked about this, and I feel like we'll talk about this till we're blue in the face because I hope that there's other ministry leaders that listen to this, but you have to be super intentional about taking those days of rest, making sure that you're spending time with your spouse,
Yeah.
with your family, with your kids if you have them, especially if they're little, because you don't want them to grow up to resent the church because dad was never around
Right.
or mom was never around.
Yeah.
And it's just, I want their perception of church to be something that they
Right.
love and not something that they resent and hate.
Right. Yeah.
Because
There's
it's just important that
Yeah.
their perspective, because it's not only that we're raising up our kids to be Christ followers, we're also teaching them what it looks like to be a Christ follower. And
Yeah.
if daddy's version of being a Christ follower is daddy's never home,
Yeah.
then that's
Right.
not healthy for them.
Yeah, which is why like they love coming here, and I love that they love coming here, and I hope that they keep that
Oh yeah.
with them forever because
Well, as
I'm
long
like,
as you have
I mean,
chips here,
even-
they'll be
yeah,
they'll be all right.
chips and snacks. I mean, poor Belinda's snacks get raided by my kids all the time. I'm so sorry. I feel like I just need to put money in her desk like regularly, like just bring $10 every week and just shove it in there.
What you need to do is just
my
buy a
kids-
whole bunch of snacks and just put like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, like, so during COVID, like after, reopening and we weren't really like doing breakfast, but like every ministry kind of had their snack area. So they knew what snacks were in the kids area. They knew what snacks were in your room and what snacks they could find for first impressions. And they would, depending on what they wanted, like they knew where to go.
Yeah.
And they would go and find whatever snack they wanted. It was hysterical during that time, but they're the same way now. Like they know where to find the snacks and they'll hunt them down and get them out. But yeah, like I try to invite them in on as much as possible
Yeah.
for that reason, like, and help explain to them why and what I'm doing. Because I think, weeks like I'm going to New York and they're like, what? And so I regularly sent pictures to them, and like Carter really loves trains, or he used to. I think he still does. But but they like he saw the picture of us on the subway and he's like, is she on a subway? Like,
Oh, yeah,
he
that's cool.
knew, like, because we had this train book. It was like this Look and Find, and it had all the different types of trains and all of that. And so, like, he recognized what it looked like from that book
Yeah.
to be able to say that. And so that was like a little cool, even though I wasn't there with him and he wasn't with me. Like, he was able to, like, I was able to send him a photo, like, to where he was able to get excited about something that I was doing. I think those are important. But, like, Frank Beeler has a great book called The Myth of Balance. We went through as a staff. I think it was when I was on maternity leave with Esme. And so, 5 years ago or more. But I read the book while I was on maternity leave too. And it's something that, like, one little thing in there that I was like, oh, this is a really cute idea, was like one of the pastors had decided that, like, their little boy was really into Matchbox cars. Hot Wheels, whatever. So he bought a bunch of them and kept them in his desk to where if there was ever a day that, like, something randomly came up, like a meeting or whatever that kept him late, because he knew that there were going to be times that he wouldn't be able to say no and he'd have to stay, whether it's a death or a hospital visit or whatever, he would keep those there to where if that happened, he'd take his little boy home,
A little, yeah.
a little Hot Wheel or whatever, and explain to him what happened, and then they'd have a moment where they'd play together and that kind of thing. And so, like, I bought a bunch of those cars and have them in a bag in our closet at home, for moments like that, or seasons where, weeks maybe where I'm gone for a long time, and we'll have a little moment where they get to pick their car out and we play together on the little track mat and all of that, because they all love them. Even Esme, like, we've thankfully been able to find some girly ones occasionally. Like, she's got an Elsa and Anna Hot Wheel car, and she's got like a pink Barbie one and like whatever. But so, like, trying to do little things like that, to try to make sure that they don't end up feeling those things at times.
And one of the things too for us is, like, because we can get caught up in such a busy season of just like go, 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 go. Not only making sure that you're creating those times and those moments for your spouse and your kids, but it's also like we have to be super intentional about what, like I said, like what am I doing to take care of myself?
Yeah.
It's not only just taking time just to make sure that you're resting and just relaxing and just
Right.
being home or going out and doing things. We also have to like maintain our spiritual health as well, which is probably at the top
Yeah.
of the list of things, because
Yeah.
if we're not spiritually healthy, it's like we were talking before the podcast, and somebody was like, all right, let's ready to go, I'm hitting record, and I was like, no, 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 it's like we got to pray.
Well, you didn't say that though. You just said no, and you started praying, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I didn't, because you said no, and I was like, "Why aren't we ready?" And you started praying, and I was like, "Oh, I feel really bad right now because I didn't even think about that." But
Yeah. And I mentioned to you, it's like
yeah,
like I try to do like before I do everything, whether it's something by myself or with my family. We always pray for a safe trip in the car. We always pray for our food. Um, I always pray before rehearsals. I always pray at the end of rehearsals. I pray to start off my day. I pray
yeah,
to end the day.
yeah,
And and I told you, I was like, if I don't do those things, like I'll start cussing. And I know that about myself. Like, and I think that's okay to be open and honest, because I'm fighting against a very, very, very toxic lifestyle that I used to live. And so those things are always wanting to introduce themselves back into
yeah,
my daily routine. It's
yeah,
just, and I know that if I don't spend the time in prayer to do those things, then like my spiritual health is going to waver. I know that Jesus is always with me, regardless if I pray or not, but I feel him much, much, much
yes,
closer if I am spending that time
right,
just to acknowledge his presence, just
yeah,
to say, hey, I need your help. Or like the prayer before this, I was like, just, hey, let us have fun.
yeah,
Just like those little things. And I
yeah,
feel like really close to him. But I also need to invest in like my Bible reading time, or maybe finding a book as well. So in those moments where you are maintaining your spiritual health, what are you doing, or maybe what books are you reading
yeah,
that are helping you to stay spiritually healthy during these like chaotic times
yeah,
in the summer, or like we know that it's going to get nutty,
yeah,
between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like
yeah.
that's just like that's just a hectic time too. So
Yeah, it's like you just have these waves. Like
I don't know about this ebb and
I know.
flow
Well,
moment that
so
you're doing,
let
because
me
for
so let
me
me
it just
share.
feels like it's just on an
What
upward.
honestly this it reminds me of is so whenever I went in to be induced for Carter, um, we he was like past my due date. So we went in to get induced, and like, you see the little charts for contractions and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, once they started the Pitocin on me and they turned it up, because like I was apparently having contractions, but I didn't remember. Like I wasn't feeling it. Not that I didn't remember. I just didn't feel them.
Spinal tap,
So
epidural. I mean,
they started the Pitocin and they turned it up the first time. Nobody was in the room with me, and like I had what the nurse called a 10-minute contraction, but honestly, like even after the 10 minutes, it didn't fully go down. Like it was just like it spiked and just stayed there, and it would
plateaued.
like go down just a tiny bit and go back up. And so that's what I feel like ministry is like. Like it's like you're up and you have just a little like moment to breathe, and then it goes back up again. Like so, it doesn't really feel like you fully have those downs a lot of times, but so that's why it's really important for in those times and during those times even to keep yourself filled up. But so I'm a reader. I listen to the books. I read books. I with spiritual books a lot of times, like, or leadership books, I'll a lot of times listen to them first, and if there's things that I'm like, oh, this is really good, then I'll buy the physical book too to go back and highlight in and to have for reference later. But I often, like, I do the Audible subscription, so I always have books that I can get and listen to as far as that goes. And I usually use that for those types of books because I have so much drive time. I have a 30-minute drive in, a 30-minute drive home. And so, like I try to use that time strategically
Yeah.
instead of, some days I do listen to worship music or to different music just because I'm like, I need a break. My brain needs a break right now. I need to hear an upbeat song to like just get myself in a good mood or whatever. But so I'm I'm always reading, and I typically have a list as well because the Leadership Academy that I did with Nona Jones, like she had this like reading list basically where you would kind of map out your books that you want to read, and that way you also know that you kind of you're not like in a spiritual book constantly or a leadership book constantly. You can
Yeah.
switch those things around, or a theology book like and I work really well with deadlines and things like that. And so like
Yeah.
knowing I want to be done with this book at this time so I can get into the next one helps me a lot. But so right now, for instance, I'm listening to a book by Darius Daniels. Actually, I just finished it this morning. I'm a little sad. I sat out in the car to finish it because it was on the last little bit, but called Your Purpose is Calling. And that's just to kind of help like refresh me and also like realign me in knowing kind of my purpose, my calling, like those things
Yeah.
to help reinvigorate those things. Because I think, especially coming out of busy seasons and stuff, sometimes you're like, am I going to be able to keep going? Like, am I on the right track? Like, man, this is hard. Like, because their ministry is not rainbows and unicorns and happiness all the time. Like, there's a lot of heaviness. There's a lot of burdens of other people that you carry. Speaking of prayer, like we have prayer requests coming in constantly. You get to know, like when you have a team, like you get invested in their life and knowing their hardships and their struggles, and you carry all that. And so like sometimes it gets heavy and it's hard, and so just making sure that you're doing those things. So like that book has been really cool and good and also helpful, I think, for leading other people, because I think a lot of people will feel often like, how do I know what my calling is? How do I know what my purpose in life is? Those kind of things. And so he talks about your like given talents and abilities that you have. Like those are different from your spiritual gifts.
Yeah.
But like then you also have your unique skill sets that like you've learned along the way or whatever. As well as your personality and passions, and how those all come together to play in your calling and your purpose in your life. And so one of the things he talked about a lot while in one of the chapters was how you shouldn't confuse your role with your calling, and how at times like you'll have multiple roles that can push forward your calling, but like to remember that your calling is there and it's always there, but your role can change along the way.
Yeah.
And not get so tied up into my role as a teacher necessarily or whatever. Like to know that like yes. So for instance, last year I felt really kind of like, oh man, because I wasn't using my teaching gift much. So after sabbatical, I came back. I started a women's Bible study.
Yep.
So like the way that I teach and use that calling and that gifting is different in that way as from what I would do on a Sunday morning when I teach people or preach. And so like there are different roles within your calling, but your calling is separate from that. Like your roles just help you actually fulfill your calling or fulfill your purpose. Like, and then like he talks a lot about finding, how to find a mentor and coaches and like that stuff along the way too, which has been really helpful, because I think like that's one of the things we were kind of tasked with, is to find a mentor and find a coach or like someone to help you.
It's so hard
and
for
it's
worship
really,
pastors because they're all finicky.
Listen, I oversee how many different areas here. Like, it's like, wait, how do I find someone? So like I have different people, but like some of the practicality of what he talked about in finding that was really, really good and helped me.
Yeah.
Like that was within this last chapter that I just listened to this morning. to kind of just know that, like, it's not like if you go to somebody and like, hey, will you mentor me? Like, I really could use some help and some guidance. Like, they're going to be a little bit hesitant for that because that can often lead to being draining for them. But if you come along somebody that you know is doing something really well that you want to kind of learn from, saying, hey, I really like what you're doing. How can I come alongside you and maybe help you and also like learn from you along the way? That triggers something in them that makes them a lot more apt to like want to do that. And I was like, man. So like he talked about showing up, supporting, and seating. And so like a lot of times we don't want to, like, there's a lot of great things out there, but like sometimes people charge for them, and like knowing that like seating into that is okay. And sometimes at that level when you need to do that, like you might need to give some money and seed into somebody else's ministry to be able to get what you need from that, and supporting them as well. I think, often we look and we want to just receive, but we need to realize that we also have something to give at times too. And so, so that was just super helpful to hear that and be like, oh, like it made me think of it in a different way.
Is this the next book on your
this
agenda?
One?
Yeah.
Yes. So this one, since now that I am done with
what's it called?
Raised to Stay by Natalie Runyon. It's called Persevering in Ministry When You Have a Million Reasons to Walk Away. I've been following her on social media while waiting for the book to release. And a lot of the stuff that she talks about, like she's got like 20 plus years in ministry, has had some church hurt, has had some of those things, and like just following her on social media has been like every post just about, I'm like, oh, this is so good. This is so like needed. And so I had ordered her book, I don't know, months ago.
Yeah.
And it finally came. And so I've been waiting to finish that book to be able to start this one. But she just has a lot of honesty within like ministry stories and stuff that she's gone through that she shares about. And I'm really looking forward to getting into that. But.
Yeah, I'm going to start reading this one called Winning the War in Your Mind by Craig Groeschel.
Oh, that's a good one. I read that last year.
That's just,
Yes.
I deal with all kinds of stuff, like, especially like, I deal with self-doubt a lot and imposter syndrome. And it's like, I feel like it's like the biggest thing that's like really holding me back in ministry. Not that I'm not getting anything done, because I'm super perseverant. Is that a word?
Yes.
Cool. Nice. Scrabble for the wind. But anyways,
I word.
I hope it is.
Yeah, it is.
And if it's not and you're agreeing with me, then everybody's probably going to think that we're not qualified to be doing this. We just make up our words. That's what you do.
I have read books from very intelligent people, and they've used words that I've looked up and found it's not necessarily a word. And I'm like, what? Because they just make up the word to like from a root of what they're trying to say and like make it into something that makes sense. But no, perseverant, I think, like, yeah, you say somebody is perseverant.
Yeah, perseverant.
I think that's...
It's full of perseverance. Yeah. I don't know. But anyways, so I've been trying to find books that'll help me like overcome those things and just be more confident in and just like, like you were talking about earlier, just being confident in your calling and just growing as a leader.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's just like past church hurt that I've been, that it just creeps up every now and then. And so I think that,
we should go through this one together. Just saying.
We should. Yeah, I think we should. We should do a book review.
Yes. We'll read the books and give a book review. I really loved the book that you're getting ready to go through. A couple years ago, I did a message for Mother's Day, and then I read that book like a couple weeks later, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is my message wrapped up in a book. I was like, oh my gosh. And so it was one of those things, because sometimes, like, most of the time I will say, when you're doing a sermon, a lot of times it's something God's speaking to you or like trying to like that you need as well.
Yeah.
And it was something I really needed at the time. And so then when I got into the book and it's just a lot deeper into some of those things that I talked about, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, God, I'm really hearing you now. Like, I get
Yeah.
it. I need this. But he's got a workbook that goes along with that I highly suggest you do.
Perfect.
Because honestly, that like the questions at the end and stuff that he goes through are, if you do that work, super, super, super helpful.
Yeah. I like the stuff with the workbook because it makes me accountable to read it and then actually do the work.
Yeah.
Because if I just read it, then I feel sometimes like I just skim over it.
Yeah. I
Like
think
I catch myself flipping through pages and I'm like, I don't even know what I read the last couple of pages.
Yeah, I think it helps to it triggers a part of your memory in a different way. Like when you write stuff down, when you work through it in a different, like, other than just absorbing it in. Like, that's why in elementary school, like, you have to write down your spelling words over and over again. Like, there's just that different level. You can read it and see it and be taught it in one way, hear it, but then, like, there's just something different that triggers when you actually are doing it in a different way that helps you really memorize it and do it differently. But
awesome.
yeah.
You ready for some for a heaping spoonful of mystery meat?
I'm not sure about a heaping spoonful, but
Well, you're about to get one.
maybe a teaspoon.
No, this one, the ones that I put in here recently are really, really good, like really fun. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I feel like I've had this one.
You've heard it before, I'm sure.
Teleportation.
Just zap anywhere.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, how awesome would that be if you were like, I really want like some of the best pasta in the world, and you're just like, I'm just going to go to Italy.
Yeah.
Just really quick and just go have dinner.
Yeah.
Anthony, you want me to bring anything back to
He'd be so mad. He'd be like, why can't I go with you? No.
It's not how this works. You didn't get the question, Anthony. You weren't on the podcast. Jared was handing out wishes that day.
Yeah.
And
no, absolutely. Because like mornings like this morning, it would have been super helpful because it's like, man, I mean, I hate being late. I really, really don't like it. And it's just part of summer life, I guess. I don't know. Cause like,
how tempting would it be, though, to teleport?
Oh, my gosh.
And like, but to get in some shenanigans. Like shenanigans.
Like shenanigans. What do you mean by shenanigans? Because my definition might be different.
Like shenanigans. Like shenanigans. Like you're okay. So obviously, if you're gonna teleport,
I'm a saved person now.
I know. I understand that. I'm not talking about like get into like the bank and just go take a whole bunch of money. But I'm like, okay, but we ran out of milk. I got to go to Kroger really quick and go get some milk. So you teleport around the corner so people don't think like you're crazy and you're just walking. It makes it feel like you're walking there. But as soon as you get back to the milk, you're like, I don't want to walk all the way to the front. And then you're first in line. And then some lady's like, hey.
Where'd you come from?
What are you doing?
See,
you're like, it's just a gallon of milk. Just leave me alone.
I'm a rule follower, so like I wouldn't cut line even with that. I wouldn't.
I would. You know what I would do?
It makes me mad whenever. Man, there was a question on an assessment I feel like that we took once that it was like asked if you, like something about like people in a line to get shoes, like if somebody came up and got in front of you, like would you be mad or would you be okay with it? And I'm like, I'd totally be mad.
Yeah.
It makes me so mad when people cut line. I don't know. That's just part of my rule following.
If I could teleport, I would hire someone to make me like them little smoke bombs. And so I would slam them down on the ground and let the smoke come up and just disappear. And people would be like, I really don't know how he does that. Like it would be like, the old school magicians or whatever. Like I would do that everywhere.
That's funny. No, I wouldn't do it.
Like even if it was from my desk to where we meet on the other side of the cafe, it would just be like,
no, like
Jared, enough with the smoke already.
Like just to go and see like friends, like, or people like in other areas that like I've done trips to or whatever, like to just be able to go and hang out with them for a couple hours. And
Yeah.
like my friend in Georgia, like going to go see my friend Katie for a little bit, going back up to New York to see Isaiah, and just like, hey, you need help sorting clothes for the back to school thing? Like, I don't know, just to get to go do fun things like that, or like, I mean, honestly, go see the world. Like, it would, I mean, flights are stupid expensive.
Oh, yes, I know.
And then the whole
I know.
passport thing and all that, to be able to just bypass that and be like, hey, what's
And if you
like,
accidentally do get in trouble, like you don't have to. All you have to do is just take cash with you, and you don't have to take your ID. But if you do get in trouble and then they lock you up, you could be like,
just teleport out of there.
"Yeah, do you just have this long list of countries not to visit?" I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, because
No,
you know
I mean, I think
it's
it could be
illegal
fun
to
to like
climb
go
the pyramids.
teleport into like some really fancy like celebrity weddings or like something, like, you know what I mean? Like that could be
Yeah.
fun to go like wedding crash. I don't know if I'm as much of a rule follower if I do that kind of thing. But you know,
Yeah.
like places where you have to have like invite to get into, like to just go be like teleport in there
I don't want to be
and
around
feel.
that type of crowd anyways. If it's invite only and you have to have your pinky finger up, what I would do is I would just bring like 10 smoke bombs and then teleport in there and just be like, "Hey," set them all off at the same time and then disappear.
And they'd all be choking on the smoke
Yeah.
when you left. No. Okay, what's your superpower?
Oh, I don't know. I was just going with what yours.
You have to answer the question too.
If I had a superpower, is that what it was?
You're not allowed to pick mine. You got to pick a different one. Yeah.
If I
What
had
would it be?
okay. Well, define superpower. So you have to give me some
Whatever.
guidelines. Okay. Well, whatever is anytime I reached into my pocket, I would pull out a wad of $10,000. Like that would be the ultimate superpower because then I wouldn't have to worry about anything.
Endlessly rich.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we could get new projectors really fast.
Yeah. Just pull out 10,000. Pull out another 10,000. There
Yeah.
you go.
Like
yeah.
if you wanted new legs, here's some new legs for you, Cheryl.
Lieutenant Dan.
Like, could you imagine? I look at stuff like that, but
New
I
legs.
tie like money.
Are you
with,
saying
like,
I need your legs to be taller? Is that
no,
what
no,
you're
no. I mean, but my chair is significantly shorter than yours, or lower, I should say. But anyways, like whenever we have like ministry opportunities, I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to take the way away the giving aspect for people because I think that there's huge blessing with coming from generosity. But I look at it and I go, okay, if the church does like 35,000 meals for the meal packing in Ecuador, how come we can't do 70? What's holding us back? Is it money? Okay, if money's holding us back, let's do it. If Anna wants to sponsor 100 kids to go to camp, and what's holding us back? Is it money? Okay, if it's money, then let's do it. Like I see those things, you know, like for us as a whole, as a church, you know, like we're about to start this giving campaign towards the end of this year, and it's like, what's holding us back from more ministry? Is it money? Then yes, let's go ahead and take care of those things.
Yeah.
Is there like some like impact schools?
Okay.
Like we have a goal, like I don't know, like a 5 or 10 year
That's what I'm
goal.
saying. Like, you're so spiritual. You make me look
It's
bad.
not spiritual, but I think
I'm
of like
I
those
want to
things.
teleport and go have pasta. And you're like, I want to pull out money and buy projectors for the church.
But don't get me wrong. You look, there would be signs that I would have money.
You'd
though.
have all the shoes you want.
I know Scott would have all the shoes that he wants too. But
Oh.
I may or may
Yeah.
not have like some gold teeth. I'm just saying, like there's other ways that you can make things happen too, because
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, like we have a goal that we would like to do, like sponsor more schools in the area for our impact
Yeah.
schools for all these kids that are like not eating. So I mean, like if we're gonna like hand out wishes, like
Yeah.
let's make like look, if you're gonna give me something, I'm not gonna be upset with teleportation
Yeah.
because
You give me the $10,000. I'll teleport wherever the shoes are you want.
yeah,
Get
exactly.
everything back. There we
That's
go.
exactly right. Look, see, this is how
Work
we become
together.
team players.
We are better together.
Yeah. And if I had $10,000, you know what your new motto would be? Cheryl never stops growing. All right, we got to get out of here. Y'all have a good day. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. And you can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.